Welcome to a special episode of The Diplomats. It used to be just a regular episode of The Diplomats, but today it's a special episode because Umble, who's been busy with life and other things, has decided to join us to give his thoughts on the metagame and what's happening in the Season 5 Nexus Finals, which is going on right now. The Fall 1909 moves have processed. But before we get into Umble's thoughts, we'd like to thank our sponsor, diplomacybriefing.com. Umble, before we get to hear your observations on the game, tell us about diplomacybriefing.com and all the exciting things that are happening there.
So Diplomacy Briefing is the basically way to stay updated with everything that's going on in the hobby, both online, face-to-face, virtual. It comes out every week. It's free. It's a great way to find out about upcoming tournaments, tournament results. There's always a strategy article every single week. We do special things too. In fact, coming up, we have our Christmas issue, which is always a lot of fun. And we've got several special things. We got an article going to be in there about time someone played diplomacy with Santa, and I've already read it. It's hilarious. You'll enjoy it. And then we've got also another part there where we've got a diplomacy carol being sung. It won't be by me. I'm not a good singer, but we got a special guest that's going to do that, and that's going to be really great. And so anyway, yeah, you want to sign up. It's free. You can do it through social media, but the best way really is get it straight to your inbox. Just go to diplomacybriefing.com and you'll be set.
How many people you got now?
So, so directly subscribed as far as straight from email, we're closing in on 500, and then
Wow.
social media. Yeah, social media. Then we are close, pretty close to 300. We're getting,
Wow.
we're getting, we're probably right now total about 750 of everything, but we're pretty close there. Yeah, it's been for a little over a year now. It's had some really great growth, and it's just like I said, if you're a hobby organizer, it's really the way to let people know about what's going on.
Okay. Thanks for the information, and I hope everyone in the audience will subscribe. It's free. All right, so I'd like to talk to you about the more recent moves that I know people following the game intensely want to talk about. But before we do that, I think we have to start. The game has had several little pivot moments throughout the finals, but I think the first super large pivot moment, maybe there have been others, but at least the most significant one in my mind was the German stab of England in fall 1905 and how everyone has reacted subsequent to that. What I'd like to do is first get, not in hindsight, your take on the stab, but at the time, your thoughts on the stab and how you thought it would play out versus what you see now.
Well, did I have thoughts at the time? I don't remember.
Oh, I don't either. That's why I said that. But I think you may have said you thought it was a little too early at that point, but I can't remember if you said that or not. To be honest with you.
Well, too, in that moment, um, okay, so and Germany jumped here. He went, and the other nice thing is he was able to get France to go into Brest, so I'm sure that was good for him. But so he goes, Germany goes from 7 to 9, right, at this point.
Yeah, I believe so. Correct.
Okay, and he's taken Norway, so he's gonna have a play there with the North Sea. Yeah, I think so. This was fall 1905. There were still game years left. Um, there were a few things that were helpful to him. You knew that Austria and Russia were some things were gonna be going on there at some point. Because he's gonna want to get his home centers back. So Russia was starting to look like it could be a little scary and become a problem. And so he was able to use England to knock him down, while at the same time using France to knock England down and take two of England's centers. So I don't think it was terrible. it could have been. I mean, it could have turned out really bad. But that all depended if people would work together. But if he knew that France was not going to really work with England, um, it probably wasn't a terrible decision because if you look over there at the East, you see that the East is not exactly settling itself. So that means you're going to have time to kind of put some pressure on England. The real issue there is going to be: are you going to be able to make enough English gains to make it matter? But I don't know. I mean, you might. The only thing there is you might have wanted to use England to get you like Warsaw or Moscow. So that would have been one thing. You might have wanted before you took that from England. But his thought process there may have slightly been, okay, England's going to be going up.
Big, and all my armies are committed east for the most part. Not all,
Yeah.
but many.
So he might have been worried, like, I'm going to become the junior partner, so I better just make my move. And so in that case, it's not terrible. You probably would have wanted to just take Belgium, though, because if you just take Belgium, then you're keeping him even, right? Or wait, well, if you're doing France, you're also, I guess England would be getting 1. You'd be at 8. He would be at 7, and maybe you'd have some play there to say, okay, Belgium needed to be mine anyway at some point, and I think you could have probably sold that and been okay. But I don't think it was I don't think it was a terrible move. Um, I don't think it was a terrible move. If you were going to make a stab on England, that was going to be the moment. You weren't going to be able to do it after.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was a thought of by Germany as a stab of necessity, but
Yeah.
as it turns out, as we sort of just flip through the map here in general, Germany hasn't really suffered a lot
No.
for this stab at all, and in fact, has stayed on 9, and then I believe got to 10, if I'm not mistaken, right now. Oops. Uh, no, still on 9, but nobody's really, caught up to
He's
him.
at 10. He's at 10 now in spring 1909 because he took Venice. But
Ah,
yes.
correct. Yeah, because he takes, yeah, correct. 10 at the end of fall, end of winter 1908.
Mhm.
So, I know you wanted to come in here, and I'm sure you wanted to talk about this Austrian move into Tyrolia, uh, which you can talk to your heart's content. But I kind of wanted just to get your sort of thoughts on, the way I'm looking at this is, that stab was 3 years ago, and he hasn't gained any except for Venice in this turn. But it's just impressive in my mind that he sort of held everyone else at bay, and these other people are still fighting with each other to a large
Yeah.
extent. Except, and he's done an admirable job of hanging on top.
And a little bit too, probably a little bit of a failure of Austria not being able to capitalize, I think, on some opportunities to take the lead and become the board leader. I think, you've seen Germany be definitely not as opportunistic as Austria. Austria seems like willing to change course, I would say, even on some short-sighted gains. So like I can get an immediate gain if I do this year, and so he's made a lot of changes. Whereas Germany has been a lot more thorough, and so I think that that's helped him. But I think Austria, honestly, there were some moments in there where it looked like Austria was going to basically own everything there in this southeast corner. But then he's made some changes or given some openings to other people that I think has really hurt his chances to be able to come out and win it, unless somebody throws him centers.
Well, he did it to Turkey, right? He stabbed Conk and then changed his mind. He stabbed Italy and changed his mind. I really don't know what's going on with him in Russia. To me, it looked like Russia may have stabbed him, and Austria went back, but he's not on a good footing. But I can't really say that anyone in the East is on a good footing with anyone. Just look at this map. You mentioned earlier about the East resolving. Uh, you know, how many times have you seen a map like this with no fleets in the Western Med. I mean, look at this. The East is going, the West is going.
Yeah, and that's really there to obviously to Italy's benefit, and with France falling, I mean, it's hard for France to ever stand if you've got Germany, England, and Italy all coming to get against you, and so and then with Turkey being the odd one out, really, it's surprising that it's not Italy who's really doing well. I think Italy's also missed some opportunities to maybe do some things. You know, the other thing is I don't know if it was the last podcast, but that I did, but one of the early ones where it may have been the last one where I did my rankings, and the two people at the bottom of the list were England and Russia. And just because I felt like they especially were not dictating anything going on the board, and they were more just being recipients. And that's one of the reasons why England got stabbed, because it just looked to me, it looked like Germany was running that whole alliance ultimately, and he was making all the decisions for them. And with the fact that England's not been able to punish Germany either, that I think that continues to go to show that England was more the junior partner.
Right. What do you make of? And I think it was,
Well, the big thing I wanted to talk about too in fall 1908 was the supporting Germany into Venice.
yeah. Why don't you hit that before I go into other comments? I mean, here is Austria in a race with Germany to try and win, and he's already two down, and he assists him.
I have said this at different points in finals, at least in two of them. One I was playing in, and I said, if you are helping somebody, if you are helping a rival gain centers in fall 1908, you deserve to lose. So, you fall 1908 is a very very pivotal moment, because only the most obtuse player would help someone
Oh,
in
wait, I was that obtuse player.
Did you give it to him in fall 1909 or 19? You did 1909, didn't you?
Oh, even more obtuse, probably.
Yes. I told you that in fall 1908, and then you did it again. I think I can't remember exactly, but fall 1908 is. I mean, sometimes sure, it's okay to help somebody get centers if it's hurting a rival, but to help the board leader who's already a significant board leader and help him into Venice, like I don't get that. I don't get that. And we already know Austria, because Austria took Venice from Italy early in the game,
Early.
didn't he? Yeah. So, man, I'll tell you what. You would think that Austria would show a little more. I don't know. Understand? You're making it harder for yourself to win, and I get it's hurting Italy is not going to get you to win in this moment. You actually want Italy to be focused on Germany, like you want that, and him and England are working together too at the moment. Like you want that. You want your armies to be able to freely go up and maybe take Munich or take Berlin. I do not understand that at all. I don't understand that. I mean, the only thing I can understand is that that was some kind of a frustration move where they were mad Italy wasn't going to do what he wanted, so I'm going to punish them. But then why would you flush your game away? I don't know. And I mean, obviously they weren't working close together, but even if you're not happy about that, I the point of doing that to me is silly. Why would you help Germany in that situation? Give him another build, help him solidify his defenses.
The only thing I could think of is that Austria thought he would get position on Venice the next year, but maybe he didn't know Munich would go to Burgundy. Now, obviously, there's going to be a Munich build and can cover Tyrolia. Uh,
Yeah, well, you could go Vienna to Tyrolia. If he was going to try to make some kind of play later.
yeah, well, he's really prioritized anti-Russia behavior here.
The crazy thing is, if he would have, I mean, he didn't know, but he could have almost played it off and put it all on Germany. He didn't even have to support because Italy was moving on.
Correct. Well, yeah, correct. I mean, he didn't. Yeah, uh, that's
And I
correct.
don't,
The
yeah,
support wasn't needed, which is the hilarious thing. But
yeah, I
uh,
don't, I don't get that either. Why would you? Why would Italy um, abandon that? That doesn't make sense to me either. I don't know what the point there. Um,
I think, yeah, I mean, Italy knew he was moving to Gascony, but and he thought he was moving to Picardy. So I assumed he thought he'd have to cover Marseille, but he could have done that with the army in Gascony and had a guess if that's what it came down
Maybe
to.
maybe he thought Tyrolia was going to go to Piedmont. That's a really risky bet, though. That's a really risky bet. I don't know.
That I didn't consider that. Let me go back a season to.
That's interesting. He supported Germany down into Tyrolia.
Yes, correct. Yes, he did. He did in the spring. He's the one that supported Tyrolia down,
Yeah.
and he was at war with Germany. So I think this was in a.
Italy can't catch a break with these guys, with these Central Powers.
Well, uh, I I do have inside information on that I can't reveal because it was through an interview with Doc Bender that won't be released until after the game, but I'll tell you after the show.
Okay.
But I want to talk to you about the this really peculiar situation in this game. Players can negotiate retreats. The animosity here between Russia and Turkey is at a whole new level, where both retreated to Bulgaria, Russia from Romania, and Turkey from Greece, meaning neither retreat was successful.
Yeah, I
Is
know
this
it's not on
personal?
the screen. Yeah, it's not on the screen, but I know what you're
Yeah.
referring to.
Spring 1908 is there. I don't have the actual orange arrow showing the retreat, but
Okay.
that's what ultimately happened after
Yeah.
the result of this move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to me at the end of, and by the way, like I
We like both players.
yeah, and I get, and I've played with both, and I like both. But if you're asking my knee jerk reaction, I'd say there was a stubbornness to where both of them were like, I deserve to be there. So if you don't go, I'm gonna go. And now there could have been maybe a little, I don't know. I have been pretty vocal on the server that I don't understand Turkey. I don't like Turkey's decisions when in these moments. I don't like it.
Well,
And
I totally think Turkey should be allowed to retreat to Bulgaria.
yeah, no, I
Retreating to
agree there.
Albania is insane.
No, I agree. I agree. I agree that Turkey should have been the one to be able to go to Bulgaria for sure. But what that ultimately shows too, I mean, those two have never once worked together at any point. Whether Austria's been backstabbing either of them, they've never once come together and helped each other that I can remember. And in this
Not
whole
once.
game, yeah.
Correct.
And so that obviously is a huge failure of diplomacy with somebody not neither of them being able to influence each other. And how much and there's nothing wrong with, by the way, being a stubborn player. I mean, in a lot of ways that can be very helpful in getting your way. But when two stubborn people come up against each other, you want to try to be able to figure out something, because it could end up eventually killing both of you. And I don't know. I don't. I'm surprised Austria got away with all the flip flopping that he did, and he was able to play it off because both Russia and Turkey just would not make deals with each other for whatever the case was. That being said, I just want to say, so in the games I've played, Conk drives a pretty hard bargain a lot of times with what he wants to make a deal with you. It's at least that's what I found personally, and that's what it seems like have happened with others. My only real close negotiations before with Village Idiot, I kind of felt the same way too. That there's very much this is how this alliance is going to work, and I know at least I made the concessions until I stabbed them. So I just got to a point to where I was done, and I was like, well, I'm gonna stab.
Well,
And
they both can be stubborn, but I think ultimately Russia really should have retreated to Sevastopol, even
yeah,
though there was going to be a disband.
correct.
He ends up losing Ukraine because of it.
Yeah,
He
no,
gives up
I agree.
serious. He gives up serious position to make a point.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, what you have is two players that know they can't win in the amount of time, and so they're trying to hold on, I guess, to some last semblance of dignity, but both retreating to the same area. doesn't prove any points, but it doesn't give you dignity. That's for sure. And at the end of the day,
What do you believe each player's goal is? My goal is Konk's goal is just to have more centers than Russia by the end of it, and I
yeah,
think
yeah,
he may succeed.
I think so. I think for both of them, it's to hopefully see the other one die before they do, because they don't seem to be very much. There doesn't seem to be a lot of revenge going against Austria at any point, and so I think Konk's thing, it looks like, is to get his home centers back, which is a noble effort, and Russia's is to not get eliminated.
All right, so I don't know if you've looked at Spring 1909 moves yet or not,
Just a
but
little.
yeah,
Yeah.
me too. Same. But my question to you is, you're the master big board strategist here. What should happen in this instance?
Well, are you pulling up 1909?
No, I'm not going to look at it yet, but at the end of '08, I mean, it seems to me Austria should have realized the mistake and that
Right.
Austria and Italy, if there's only three players in it at the end of '08, right? Germany by a large margin, Russia slight, not slight, but far behind, and Italy, in my mind, way behind, and
Yeah.
nobody else with a chance.
Well,
It seems
I think prioritizing Russia here was not the move to make either. I think I think letting Turkey start filling in your centers from behind was a really bad decision. What you have is Austria now, I think for about 2 years, it may not be 2 years, but he's been giving up a center to Turkey. And I don't know what ultimate benefit he's been getting from any of this um, at all. He would have been better just to stick with Italy and get that going and then just eliminate Turkey so he didn't have to worry about his backside. And so, going up and hitting Sevastopol and trying to get, or Sevastopol, and no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had it right. Anyway,
Sevastopol.
yeah, yeah, that's correct. Sevastopol. That's how our Russian friends say
No,
it.
Topol. I got it. Max Vax. But you keep going.
All right. Anyway, um, I think my opinion in this circumstance, he should have. I mean, he could have still done. He could have gone to Constantinople, just to kind of put pressure a little bit there on Turkey. And I think he should have prioritized getting a build over getting the position, or at least not. And so that really hurt him. He needed to go to 8, and instead now he's staying at 7. He needed to get a build, and that was just the wrong play.
Well, he got Romania, didn't he?
But he lost Smyrna.
Oh, you're right.
So anyway, he needed to get to 8, and
But all those
that,
ships have sailed. What must he do now?
okay. Um, I don't know. I don't know how he's going to win. Quite frankly, I don't know how anyone is going to catch up to Germany, who's at 10 now. Because Turkey's consolidated his position now, which I'm not sure Austria can get Constantinople and Smyrna back. So his only real growth, I mean, if you want to count it, how does Austria get to 10? Well, he's going to have to get Sevastopol. He's probably going to be losing on Ankara. That's a real possibility. So he's going to have to get Sevastopol. He's going to have to get Greece. And if he's losing Ankara, I should say, I'm sorry.
He can get, yeah.
Then he's got to get something else, maybe Warsaw or Venice. In the amount of time we have, I don't see how anyone's going to overtake Germany. I just don't. Nobody's working together. I don't think Austria can win, because the only way Austria can win is if he has alliances with people, and it doesn't look like he does. It doesn't look like there's any alliance on the board and anybody that even wants to work together. Everybody's fighting each other.
Right. Well, there was an English-Italian one, and that's gone now.
Well, I can tell you this: if Germany comes out and wins this will be, in my opinion, probably one of the most dominant performances. If you're going to go on a diplomacy,
Wire to wire.
yeah,
Take out Doc. I mean, always in the lead.
yeah. If you want to go on a diplomacy perspective, like I know season 3, which to me there's a lot of things to be said about season 3, but I know season 3 there was basically a long-term alliance where Turkey stabbed Russia near the end, and Russia had left themselves wide open. So, but that wasn't a diploma necessarily. Like, I was making sure everybody was focused on someone else, and I just completely dominated the whole game. So to me, this is probably one of the most dominating performances that you're basically 2 years out, and I don't think there's anyone that can stop you from winning. I don't think we've ever been able to say in 19 at the end of 1908, this person has locked this down forever. And there's almost I can't put together a way that someone's going to be able to pull this out unless the only way is if Turkey throws Austria centers. That's the only way I can
Well,
see it
let's look
happening.
what happens in spring 1909, and
Yeah,
let's see if that happened. Well, no, Austria uh, took Sevastopol, but lost Ankara. Uh, Decides to make a move on Germany, but
yeah,
because he let him into Tyrolia, Germany will, I mean, into Venice.
yeah,
Germany takes Tyrolia. He doesn't help Italy take back Venice, which he could have done.
right. Well, probably Austria can maybe get Greece here. If Turkey's going to help them, he can get Greece, so that's a good thing. And so he can go what? He'll be at 8 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just not. I don't know where he's going to get that final 2. Now maybe it doesn't look like Germany is going to be unless Italy helps Austria. Which if Austria takes Greece, Italy's not going to help Austria take Venice. I don't know where. I don't know where. Now Germany, I have a little quibble about. I think he should have gone to Bosnia and taken Sweden. I'm taking St. Petersburg in the fall. I think that was a mistake.
Well,
Um,
he's been that fleet was yeah. I mean, I think yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I think guarding. I know he's prioritizing defense, but I don't think he has anything really to worry about. Italy's here taking English centers. I think you go and you take St. Petersburg, and he's made it now that if he's going to get St. Petersburg, he's not going to be able to get it until um fall 1910.
Well, he's short of fleet.
Yeah. Well, no, he can move over there. He's got a fleet in Norway. But he's in Skagerrak, so he's going to have to go Sweden and then Bothnia and then St. Petersburg. So he won't be able to get St. Petersburg now unless England gives it over to him or Russia helps him.
No,
Uh,
all I'm just saying is yeah, where he's at now, he's short of fleet to take St.
yeah,
Petersburg. I mean,
yeah,
he's going to have to either shift
yeah,
and
that,
put Norway at risk, or I mean, it's 3-3 by my count in London North and Norwegian, and then Denmark, Norway, Skagerrak.
yeah. That was a real mistake. He Now obviously he was worried about perhaps you
Russia. He's
know
worried about Russia.
well and worried about maybe they work together or that Denmark or maybe North Sea was going to help. But I think that moment you need to go for St. Petersburg. You need to try to consolidate the English centers, and he might still be able to. But I don't know. England seems to have a pretty good lock there on those last 3, so he's probably going to be relatively okay. Italy might be able to pull something out from Liverpool, but I think he needed to get St. Petersburg. But he still seems like he's in a pretty good position. He's probably going to be able to take. He might be able to take Marseille or Brest. Well, we'll see. But I just don't see how anybody's going to catch up. I suppose Italy maybe has the best shot at it if he can sneak some stuff up into England and maybe hold on to Greece. But I don't know. I think Germany's got it. Which, if he's got it and if nobody's going to do anything, they should just draw. Just let him have it. But I don't think everybody would agree to that.
It's not quite over, is the
No,
thing.
no, it's not.
Um, but I think Austria needed to get. I mean, Austria can't get Russia on its side after what it's done. Responding to I don't know who started what, but
Uh,
they're never going to get back on the same page.
well, and Austria's wasting his time a little bit with going to Bohemia. Like, his path to winning ultimately He's got to get Warsaw and he's got to get Moscow. And he's got to set himself up to do that. Now, I understand not going to Galicia because he wanted to have somewhere to retreat. So, I get that.
Well, he's got real problems. They can't take out Tyrolia without,
Yeah,
I mean, without worrying about a retreat to Vienna.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean,
Vienna to Bohemia is probably tactically is probably the better. That's probably the better thing to do. He's going to have to, but then you want to do Bohemia to Silesia, I would say, and you're going to want to get Warsaw and Moscow. Which, if he does that, because okay, so right now he's at 7, right?
correct.
Okay. Well, maybe he can pull it off. If he can do Warsaw and Moscow, get Greece, he might be able to pull off the win. He could maybe do that. I may be giving him too much information, but that's going to be the only path forward that I think the win's going to come. I don't think you're going to probably get anything off of Germany, but Germany made a real mistake here, not going for St. Petersburg because you wanted to get another build there. And so there does not look like there's going to be any real way for him to get that build unless maybe England helps. Maybe England helps him. He can get Brest, but he needed to get that build. I think that was a mistake. Austria,
England
I
is
think it
not
might be
going to help Germany. There's
okay.
no chance.
Well, he might be mad at Italy enough to do it. You know, my personal the way I operate, I'm not like when I come down to that end, if everybody's betrayed me, or I'm not going to help push somebody over the edge. I'll work against both. I'll work in my own self-interest at the end like that. Now, if someone has played, I feel like has played the game very well, and someone hasn't, then yeah, I might do that. But and Austria might actually have a window here. If he can take all of the Russian centers, he can do it.
I don't see a window for Italy
Yeah.
because, yeah, they took Brest, but they're going to lose Portugal or they're going to lose position in the Med.
Yeah, they're gonna lose Portugal. That's true. Yeah.
So,
Well, I felt like that Italian stab on England was too soon because you needed pressure on Germany if you were gonna win. I do think that was in some ways. I don't know.
well, too soon or too late because there was an opportunity uh, to not let England get big.
Yeah.
I mean, back in it, which Italy did, and then stabbed. They could have kept England real weak and used. Italy could have had France as a janissary, and chose not to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, there's always responses to any decision you make. And so that's where, learning to read the board and playing things out really helps because you can say, okay, I can attack this person, but what opening am I going to create for somebody else when I attack them? What pressure is going to go away? And so attacking England meant that Germany, who wasn't getting any pressure from Austria or Russia, was going that now means that England can't focus 100% on Germany. So I know it's probably a hard decision on what to do, and I'd have to go back and look closer at the game than I have, but definitely Italy attacking England is only helping the board leader. So, and at this point, your goal's got to be, how do we limit the board leader ultimately? So, yeah,
Yeah,
I
well,
don't.
what's surprising is that uh, people have prioritized. You're supposed to work in terms of mutual interest, even if you don't like the person in diplomacy.
Right.
And in here, I think we haven't seen that. They're not working in mutual interest. They can't seem to find mutual interest.
Yeah.
It's quite remarkable.
Well, let's look at something. So, if a tie happens between Germany and Austria, who wins?
I can tell you that the answer, I believe, is Austria, but I will
Interesting.
give you the answer to that right now.
No, so Germany wins in that circumstance. Oh, wait. No, no,
No,
no.
no. Austria picked six.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. But they were third.
They were third, and they put themselves in sixth position.
Interesting.
So Yeah, Austria would win a tiebreaker. So only 3 centers are needed. I don't suspect Conk's going to be throwing any centers to Austria.
Hmm. I wonder if Otto would have been wise, or Doc Bender, to do a country like Italy
I
rather than.
asked him, without revealing much, I asked him why he picked France because when he won the world championship, he picked France after he had just soloed as France.
Okay.
And his response was, I knew that given my performance in the preliminary rounds and my general reputation, that I would have to weather a storm. And the best way to do that in my mind was as Germany. That's why I picked it then, and that's why as France. That's why I picked it then, and that's why I picked it now.
Hmm.
He said, these guys stuck together. He goes, but normally it's difficult to keep it together.
Yeah. Well, the one thing with France is you can be attacked by if France is probably one of the best. I would say it's probably one of the best countries to get dogpiled by, and I don't mean for defense. I mean the thing is both Italy, Germany, and England can concentrate everything on you a lot of times in the early game, and they won't get punished for it. Russia and Austria's not going to punish. They're going to be focused more on trying to either attack each other or attack Turkey.
Yeah,
So in
they're
some,
going on the other dog pile of Turkey or
yeah,
Austria sometimes.
yeah. So in some ways, if you think you're going to get dogpiled, I'm not 100% sure France is the best one. Even though he can last perhaps longer, there's no real opportunity. Well, there's not as much of an incentive for the other powers to stab the people trying to get dogpiled. So I don't know if that's really the case or not. He might have been better in the sense with England because, like with England, people have to really commit and stretch out their armies, and you've got when that's going on, there's a more incentive for I think other people to stab each other, like Germany to try to squeeze some from France, or France to try to grab some from Germany, or Italy to sneak in behind France, or Russia to sneak in on Germany. There's a little bit more of a people have to leave their backs a lot more open than they do going against France. So that's an interesting thought to think through. I'm not 100% sure France is the best one to not get dogpiled on if you think you're going to. And it might be good to make yourself a little weaker, like Italy, to where people are like, he may be the number one seed, but I've got bigger concerns right now. So I don't know.
Okay, so if you had to put odds on it, what would the odds of percentage chance of winning for Germany in your mind?
Well, a lot of it's going to come down to this fall 1909 is does Turkey help Austria against Greece, and does Austria set up to take Warsaw? If I was Germany, I would probably be doing everything I could to make sure that you help and assist Russia from not losing those dots to Austria. That's more important than really right now than anything else. It's more important than what you can grab. I would just say, hey, I'm going to lock. I would send. It's hard because you're having to guard yourself against England and things like that. I get it, but Austria's path to winning is taking Moscow and Warsaw. He's got to commit everything he can to get those, because I don't think he's going to get it from Germany. He might. I would say right now, Germany's got the best shot. Austria is second, and everybody else is not got a chance to do so.
Were you a tad surprised that just on tactically, right? Uh, that Romania was not the mover to Sevastopol.
Yeah, you would kind of like a little bit like I mentioned. You could leave a retreat spot for it if you did it that way, and then went up. You could go up and take be in Galatia and Romania. So that would have been the better way to do it. And kind of
Well,
keep
and
it.
you also leave that army in Armenia to try and grab a Turkish center at the end if you need it.
Yeah, yeah. He may not have known what Conk was going to do in that situation. Yeah, I think I'm with you. Romania to Sevastopol might have ended up being the better choice. A lot of this comes down to he's given Turkey more, a lot more power over his fate.
Oh
Because if
yeah.
Turkey wants to prioritize some things, and he may look at Austria and say, okay, right now you are at, you're going to be at 7. I'm going to be at 3. Now, if I help you into Greece, you're going to be at 8. Maybe my preference is not to help you and see if I, get Italy to support me into Bulgaria. And then you're at 6 and I'm at 4, and I can see if I can even, get one more center from you, and we can end on the same.
Yeah, well, the problem there is the retreat into Khan. So he's
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
think
that's true. Yeah,
about that.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But I wouldn't put that. I mean, in Konk's mind is Turkey. He might be thinking, Austria, you ruined my game just when I'm going to ruin yours at the end. He may be holding the long knife out for the end. You never know.
Yeah. Well, if Turkey, yeah, and that might be there at the back of his mind. Turkey's like, Germany's not done anything against me. Why would I prefer Austria to win in this circumstance? And
I mean,
so,
if we're going to go back to older slides, I've never forgotten this one from Konk at the very end. I look
mhm,
forward to to hearing the reasons why Austria's one-dot stab of me was a stroke of brilliance, befitting a finals board, instead of the greedy, short-sighted buffoonery that it looks like to me.
mhm.
That
Well,
if
does
that
Conk hold a grudge? That's the question.
we're going to find out, aren't we?
Yeah, does Conk hold a grudge to where, because right now it's really, if he wants to close Austria's chances in fall night in 19010, he definitely can. He's going to be getting another build, and
What does
he
he build?
can.
Does he build an army?
I don't know. It depends
That
if he's going to help
that would
Austria
do it,
win.
right? The army be the worst for Austria, presumably.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's nothing back there, so he could go up to the Black Sea. He can go up and take the Black Sea and make, put an army in Smyrna, and now he's got 2 on Sevastopol, and he's threatening a whole bunch of places. There's a lot of options, and it's going to be if he ends up deciding, look, I'm not going to reward what you did, and regardless of what's happened in the last year or two, that's not going to change. You're not going to win, and that's why it's very important that you kill people, because you leave somebody alive and you have in your mind these, oh, I'm going to use this person to do this or that, and the thing is they've got a free will, and they're not going to forget what you did, and generally it's almost always better to kill somebody, even if it puts you at a short-term tactical disadvantage. It's a better to kill someone so you don't have that wild card.
So my last question to you, before you have any additional thoughts, if any, is you and Doc Binder sort of had a not a debate, but a little discussion about whether or not the Nexus games should be anonymous. My own view of it is that in our finals it was supposed to be anonymous, but everyone found out. I'm not sure how you can keep a finals board anonymous, so I'm okay with it being non-anonymous. The
Well, I don't think people.
police are a different matter in my mind.
Yeah, I don't think people found. I don't feel like anybody knew who I was until 1904, with any definitely not with any certainty. Um, I had nobody playing me as it that I was Umble until that it was like, this is locked down, this is who that is, and the board knew it. I don't feel like that was going on until 1906 in our board,
That's
and I know
probably true.
in the first season, I know that didn't really happen until 1907, and that was really really important for me on both fronts. Um, I don't think Conk would have stabbed Austria in our game when he did if he would have known that I was Turkey. And so it's true that yes, they eventually find out, but you do get some breathing room to establish alliances and establish a strategy. And the thing is, you can shake up how you correspond with people. There's nothing prohibiting you from doing that, which is what I did in the first season. Like, I was very committed in the first season finals to doing that. And in the second season, I wasn't as committed because I felt like the players were a lot better in that season. So I didn't feel like the target was as big on me as it would have been in the first season. So I didn't really work that hard to change anything up in the second season. I think I could have gone along longer even if I had, but But here's the thing: face-to-face players don't care a lot about it because they are coming from they're coming from face-to-face play, and generally, targeting does not happen in face-to-face like it does in online. It just doesn't. And the biggest reason is this: there's not enough time to coordinate detailed strategies with everybody and convince everybody in face-to-face like there is in online. And you know, and not only that, face-to-face values competency more than online does. Because in online, you have so much time to think about moves and to persuade people and to put, you know, big proposals forward. Whereas in face to face, you've got to be efficient. You've got to see what's best to do. You've got to go with somebody that knows how to stay the course and not get spooked in these 15-minute deadlines. And so online, I believe, has far more opportunity to effectively dogpile and coordinate somebody. Because, you know, in face to face, you may have an alliance coming against you, but in those quick deadlines, you can turn somebody, right? You know, somebody doesn't completely think through, you
The
know,
consequences of their actions.
right? Yeah, we've seen this happen all the time. You know, there's a good attack plan going, and then, you know, this guy gets somebody off into the corner of the room, and they talk their ear off, and they make this incredibly short-sighted decision. And so I believe that's important, especially because in a final, that ranking matters, you know. And so when you got somebody like Doc who's really, really good, and he's first in placement, and he's in France, when they know that, what that means then is you have a far greater likelihood of being jumped. And so I know he doesn't care because I believe, in my opinion, he's thinking the same rules to face apply to online. And that's just not the case. The people that are going to be going against you are going to be far more committed, far more reasoned, and they're going to just play at a much stronger level just because they have more time to think. Like if you were to take these 7 people and put them same powers and have them all play a face-to-face game, you'd probably find Doc being one of the early board leaders right off the bat, just because he can play that format so well. But in online, there's a big equalizer. And so I think anonymous is really, really important. Plus, I think it's more fun anyway. I think it's more fun to comment when it's anonymous. I think it's more fun to try to guess, you know, who people are. And I think you can talk about the board in a much more neutral perspective because, you see it in these finals. This is the second time now where there's not been anonymous finals, and people take things personally when you criticize their play, and they'll say it. And so I think making it anonymous would make it a more healthy setup, in my opinion.
Well, the problem is everyone would know who Conk is right away just by his writing style. So he would have been non-anonymous right away. It would have been, I don't know if Russia and Turkey would have ever been able to come together, non-anonymous or anonymous. But you make some good points for me to think about. Any other thoughts on the game that you want to say? We'll bring you on at the end, but for now, anything?
No, I think great play by Germany. Austria, as we've talked some more through this podcast, he has more of a chance than I initially thought, but it really all rests on Turkey and then him going all in on Russia, and he's got to do it this fall. If he doesn't move towards Russia, I don't think he's going to be able to get both of them in the next year. So he needs both of them, and he needs Turkey to be friendly. And if that does not happen, then he's not going to be able to win.
70-30 Germany? Couldn't get you nailed down, but let me try now.
Let's do 65-35.
All right. 2/3, 1/3, essentially. All right. Umble, thank you very much for coming on. 0% to Italy, right?
I don't think Italy can get enough centers. I don't think they have the avenue to get enough centers to pull it off. No.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for Diplomacy Briefing sponsoring us. You can sign up at diplomacybriefing.com. It was a special treat to hear you, Umble. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.